Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. Today I'm going to talk about GreenTech metals. We were the first company to list on ASX this year, on the 4th of January, and having raised a relatively modest these days, $5 million. And we started work drilling, in fact, within 2 weeks, and have now completed about 5,000 metres of RC. So the company listed because we were able to secure non-core nickel copper assets in the Pilbara region from the Artemis Resources and another private equity group. Okay, so the investment proposition, we've got high quality assets in the electrification area, okay, and we've got straight into business, starting drilling. The high experienced board management and a reputable technical team, consultants. We have flagship assets at Wandoo Asia, which are open pittable, close to established processing facilities, granted MLs, existing JORC resources with substantial exploration upside, and with potential that we think to fast track to production. So in the past 6 months we've added 50% to the metal content total copper zinc metal that we have there in those projects, without actually including any of the new results that we've got from drilling. So there's a snapshot of the company today. It's been, as you can see on the thing, and there's been a little bit of flurry of activity on the market in the recent weeks when we released results, or partial results anyway, from our drilling in the past 6 months. Like every other company, we've suffered from the delays getting results through the laboratories because they are completely overwhelmed. And we only have about 2/3 of our results to date. So we have 45.5 million shares on issue. Market cap, last time we looked anyway, the last few days, was $11 million. Up until the last week, we were trading roughly around just under the 200,000 shares per day. And one of the, I suppose, important aspects is the major shareholders, which is Artemis at nearly 15%, and the private groups another 14% as well. So collectively almost 30% of a solid block of shares held as a cornerstone block. And top 20 shareholders hold almost, well, 53% anyway. So why did we do it? Well, the electrification business these days, if we all have to hop into electric cars in the near future, we're going to need these metals: copper, nickel, zinc, cobalt, etc. And the short-term forecast for these metals, or the demand, is that they're going to increase quite significantly over the next decade. 31% for copper, nickel up another 50%, and zinc going up 30-odd% as well. So the fundamentals for these metals, at least for copper and nickel, is good. Okay, with both prices projected to increase obviously along with demand in the near term. So we think we're well placed in this respect in these commodities. So just quickly then on to what are our projects, just a overview. We have a focus in the West Pilbara, and that's a shot of the recent drilling there. Some of the chalcopyrite coming out of some of the holes. Okay, we do have other projects down at Fraser Range, also nickel focus, another place called Windamurra. But our first, I guess our flagship projects are in the West Pilbara. So what's the attraction of this the West Pilbara? Well, just quickly on the geological side, all the highlighted green colours there, they're mafic intrusions. They're very fertile in this area, both for nickel copper intrusive deposits and particularly below that shear line that runs through the map from west to east is a shear zone which divides it geologically, but to the south there's also intrusions, and there we get, there's also felsic intrusions, and that's where we're finding these VMS deposits, copper zinc, okay. But the numerous different mafic intrusions to the south, you can see there you've got PGEs at Money. Elizabeth Hill is the, I'm led to believe, is probably the richest silver mine in Australia, held by Alien Metals, who are looking at dewatering it as we speak. And there's just, it goes thousands of ounces to the tonne silver previously mined. Just to the north there, Radio Hill is a nickel processing plant owned by Artemis Resources, currently on care and maintenance, operated as recently as about 2018, or had an upgrade in 2018, and it is capable of being modified to take copper and so forth. Over to the east, Wim Creek, Annex Resources have they're trying to move towards development as well. They got about 6 million tonne, I think, in their most recent announcement. It's a copper zinc, very similar, identical almost in many ways to Wandoo. It's a copper zinc VMS deposit, and they're set up there with flotation cells, etc. And in fact, historically, some of the material that was mined from Wandoo back in 2006, some of it went to Wim Creek to go through their heap leach process. So there's a lot of activity up there, and the one I didn't mention there above the purple line there, Andover, nickel, copper, cobalt, that's where Azure Minerals are. Some of you may have heard of those guys. They're doing resource drill out there as well, and in their mafic intrusive host of nickel, copper, cobalt deposits. And that particular intrusion there is, runs all the way down here, and you can see there's other nickel deposits down in here as well, so quite a fertile little thing. So that's the geological story, but from a operational point of view, of course, you've got Karratha there, airport, 2 hours flight from Perth, multiple flights to and from Perth each day. All thanks, of course, to the iron ore operations, which are shipping ore out of Karratha and further up the coast out of Port Hedland and 1 or 2 other ports as well. Great logistic support there. It's well serviced. It's a good place to operate, and these deposits and so forth around here, Wandoo, it's only 40 kilometres out of Karratha, so you don't have to set up camps or anything like that. That's the Wandoo open pit. Okay, you can see here we've got the resources, 3.6 million tonne in the Wandoo group at 1.2% copper, 1.4 zinc. Ruthwell is about 250,000 tonnes of copper nickel there at 0.5% nickel. And our other important project is Osborne, which is this particular one here. But we go into slightly more detail with these now. If we just look at Wandoo first up. Now Wandoo is a very large mineralising system. It goes from here at where the Wandoo pits are. Here they are in better detail with some of the drill holes we've recently put in. And from there up to what's called Asia, Okay, there's another resource there that we've recently announced, and that's 1,500 metres, 1.5 kilometres, okay, through here. And there's other targets there as well. This one is Yannery. Oddly enough, it's had historic workings on it, some limited pits and or shafts, sorry, and adits and so forth where the oxidised ore was mined. These ones here obviously got open pits on them, and Wim Creek Consolidated took ore out of there, and the Fox Resources mined this in this particular hole here over about an 18-month period in 2006. Both cases, they were just taking the oxide, near-surface oxide ores, and because there was no capacity at the time to deal with the sulphide ores. And the high grades in the supergene and that were quite attractive at the time. Yannery, we've spoken about Yannery, but the Asia, close to 1 million tonnes there, but never looked at previously, was never mined or prospected. Shelby is an interesting target that we'll get to in a minute, and it's quite deep geophysically because all these bodies show up on the airborne EM surveys, electromagnetic surveys that have been flown. This target in here is considered as big as Wandoo, but quite deep. So we just move on to here. This is how they hold together, or what we think it all means, and that it's been a multiple intruded system. And the dotted line is the base of what we call the felsic volcanics. These VMS deposits, which come out in the seafloor, are associated with that unit towards its base. Underneath are mafic volcanics, which is the footwall of the deposits. Surface workings here. Asia has an outcrop. Oh, 2 minutes, okay. Righto, okay. I've been talking too much, I better move on. So we just go quickly through that. That's the Wandoo. Okay, from our recent drilling, we started here. Those couple of holes, the reason there's two is they both failed to penetrate the ore body. This is into the known resource, and we were trying to drill where another historic hole had failed to reach depth as well. Interesting intersections there, 62 metres, 1% copper, and some high grades there, 4 metres at 4.5%. The second hole had 42 metres, 1% copper, so quite repeatable. The zone in the outline there is a low-grade mineralised system. The centre part has gold associated with it, which goes with the copper mineralisation. And what we were looking for was extension, so we extended out towards the edge of the known body and to look for these, because there was some evidence that there were multiple bodies in there, and we starting to see the evidence of it. The results from this hole here, we don't have them yet. There is the resource which we mentioned previously. This is Asia, again an important one. I'll just mention a couple of holes here. At surface, small gossan, totally misrepresents the body underneath. This hole, 23 metres at 3% copper. Others up there is, you'll be able to see, there's 34 metres here at 4% zinc, so quite big. And this is the intrusion here. We'll be drilling. We're setting up to drill as we speak, clearing pads at Osborne down in here. Nice EM target, never been drilled. Okay, as quickly, that's Ruthwell, and we've got a big program ahead of us coming through this year. More geophysics, downhole EM, more drilling, etc., to take us through to the end of the year. And that's the catalyst for investors. Increases resources, good targets, and getting on with business. And that's the important bit there, our disclosures at the end there. Thank you very much.
Tom, thank you very much. He's a man with